I run a lot of Google ads for tons of local home service and just local and just service business in general. So some of the things that I see across the board when it comes to auditing, taking on accounts that have already been running, or even just starting brand new Google ad accounts for businesses, these are just some things that I see across the board that I think a lot of people should be taking a lot more advantage of. I've started to notice a trend of a handful of things that I want to bring attention to that I think a lot of local businesses just aren't either taking advantage of enough or just doing the right way. So that's the point of this video. My name is John Eberhard. I run a Google Ads agency. I've worked with over 100 brands. No, that does not mean I have 100 clients. I do consulting, I do audits, etc. But as you can see here, just this year so far, there's 399 campaigns in my manager account. I also have logged almost 8,000 conversions here in my overall manager account. And a conversion for most of my clients can either be a direct booking, a form fill out, a call, or a call directly from the ads. So that is that. So most of my clients are in the realm of what your business likely is if you're watching this video. So I could show you a ton of examples of accounts. This is a client I just started with just last month. They were never able to crack the codes on their Google ads. We've been crushing it for them. They have a good budget, about $5,000 a month. Just in a month, 65 new first-time callers, and as well as we have over 25 form fill out. So we're doing fantastic for them. Their local home service, another local home service here, they're only spending $1,000 a month. And I just want to show you a bigger time frame, but we get like, I don't know, 15 phone calls on average a month for them. And again, the lifetime value of their client is several $1,000s each. So Google ads can be super profitable for honestly any business if it's just done right. No matter high ticket, low ticket, local, digital, etc. Google ads can work for anyone. So the point of this video is for me to show you what I think your business should be taking more advantage of inside Google ads. So it's not going to be a lot for me to actually show you here on the screen, but I'm just going to be talking through some stuff. So if you're eating, if you're laying down, then just enjoy my voice, I guess. So the first thing I want to talk about is really nailing in location targeting. So for instance, right, let's just say that you're a roofing company in Phoenix, Arizona. Okay, and let's say you're running ads, right? So you guys do the whole valley. So you've got Phoenix, Scottsdale, Glendale, Tempe, Mesa, Gilbert, whatever, right? And you got all these little tiny, zip codes and neighborhoods, right? You got like, I'm not going to get too into it, right? But you got Paradise Valley, you got North Scottsdale, you got Old Town Scottsdale, you got Camelback area, Arcadia. Those are all neighborhoods, right? Kind of in this area. So when you are advertising, and you always got to remember that your locations are going to be at an actual campaign level, not an ad group or ad set level like it could be in Meta, right? But for Google, it's at a campaign level. So some of the biggest things that I see is people just group all these locations together and then they just run with it. And if it's like, hey, we just deal with the results that we get. But you need to be looking at these actual locations and taking a look at, okay, because I guarantee you that there will be neighborhoods and zip codes and parts and nooks and crannies, of cities that are going to be performing differently than others. So instead of just having your budget as a whole and just for all these locations, just letting it spend around it, what I like to do is this structure, I guess, or a strategy. You can do it for locations, you can do it for ad groups, but I like to call it dividing and conquering. And it's basically when you want to split up part of the budget, right? Because most of your Google Ads budget is either going to go to like 1 or 2 ad groups, and each, in a search campaign, and as well, same thing with locations, right? It's all going to be dependent on actual click volume and where that money goes, and I guess like how quickly it can get spent, really. So that's going to be based off of search volume for the keywords or the location, whether that's the most profitable and best place for you to be targeting regardless, right? So let's say that North Scottsdale, you're getting a lot cheaper conversions in North Scottsdale, but most of your budget's going towards Phoenix. Then you need to make sure that you separate those and give those a chance to work with their own budget. Because again, especially, even if you're just like, hey, we just do Phoenix, well, downtown Phoenix, North Phoenix, South Phoenix, those are completely all different markets. And so when people just group locations together as a whole and just let it spend, I think that one thing people miss a lot, and way I can, even if I get an account going really good, I can still bring stuff down further by almost getting into the niches of this. And even if you're only spending a few grand a month, I can very easily have you at 3 or 4 campaigns. You might be thinking that's a lot, but it's like everything is being tested for a reason. And if we can, put a little bit of a budget towards a certain area in this location, in your overall location targeting, that's getting, 15% cheaper cost per acquisitions or cost per lead, then that helps the average and it gives that area some real spend. So again, long story short, people really need to be nailing and practicing and testing more with their locations. Every location is different, and you need to be testing more audiences in there, because the location that spends the most money does not mean it's your best one. Going down to the next thing too is people need to tighten up their ad groups. I see way too many, like, for instance, like an asphalt paving company I just took on, right? I see in one ad group, they've got keywords and headlines that reflect all of these different things: seal coating, crack sealing, patching, residential, and commercial. I'm like, okay, what is going on? It's like, I get it. You guys are an asphalt paving company. They're like, hey, these are all of our services, so we want to advertise all of them. Okay, got it. And I know this is a dramatic example because it was the owners that were running the Google ads themselves. So of course, they are not as versed in this as someone like myself or another agency might be, but you need to be splitting those ad groups up into separate ad groups, right? And have keywords that follow that. So if you're going to have all those services, right? Like, I don't know, that's 5 or 6 services. You need to have an ad group for each of those services and have keywords and ad copy and everything that just tailors to each of those services at a time. And you need to have a separate landing page either. Don't just be bringing people to a catch-all form fill-out page if they're searching for patching or residential paving. You need to have a page also for each of those so you get the higher quality score. You're more congruent, and I guarantee you, especially for like that medium to higher ticket local home service, that will help you convert more. And let's just say, even worst case scenario, it helps you get one more high quality lead a month with your current budget. That's unlocking can be tens of thousands of dollars in revenue, no problem. So that stuff is very important. But long story short, people need to tighten this up. Quit grouping stuff up. I know it's way more work to have 6 ad groups and do the extensive keywords for keyword research for each ad group and each service, and then have 2 different ads. It's 30 headlines, it's 8 descriptions, it's all this stuff. Yada yada. Having a separate page, you're like, oh my god, Johnny, that's a lot. Correct. The bar is not here. Okay, the bar is kind of here. And if you want to make really good money using Google ads, raise the bar, raise your standards, put more work into it. Correct. You're like, God, that's a lot of work. You're 100% right. That is why I have 399 campaigns in here, and I do not have 399 clients. Okay. And a lot of people are spending anywhere from $1,000 to $7,000 a month. So yes, not being lazy, tightening up the ad groups and giving people exactly what they want. So when they search residential asphalt paving, they see ads in a page for that, not for just catch-all paving services. You will have more congruency. I can promise you that you will get higher quality leads. You will get more leads, and everything will just go smoother. Okay, so just don't be lazy. And if you want to be lazy, hire me. I run Google ads for a living. First link in the description. You can pay me to not be lazy for you, which I recommend it. The next thing I want to go through is negative keywords. So especially a lot of folks setting up Google ads and running them themselves are using broad match keywords because Google shoves that in your face 24/7 to use broad match. And especially if you're in local home service, your keywords can kind of vary. It depends, right? If you're locksmith, plumber, you can see sometimes, CPCs around $20. Depending if you're in a small town of like 30,000 people, you might have lower CPCs. It can vary, right? Of course. But the biggest thing here is you need a high conversion rate. And you need to make sure that you're not wasting spend, of course, like anyone, right? But especially for local home service, because I know how competitive it is. I know how expensive it can get very, very quickly. So always make sure that your traffic is as direct and as high intent as possible. So I always, right when I make any Google ad campaign for anything local service, I automatically add these negative keywords as a broad match. It's going to be free, DIY, career, how to, what is, cheap, Home Depot, how to become how, etc. Right? Like you don't need people looking for any of those things. And especially again, when it comes to local home service, a lot of people do it themselves, look for a career, look for cheap, look for alternatives, etc. So if you remove those and make those negative right away, you will save yourself money and it's going to be a good baseline. But when you make a new campaign, a search campaign, you need to be monitoring search terms for at least every day for a week. At least. I look at search terms almost every day for all my clients just to make sure, right? Once I've been running Google ads for someone for several months, not as important, but especially if you make a new search campaign and you're running new stuff, you need to be back on top of it again, because it's a very, very quick way to start spending money, especially if your CPCs are, even if they're $5, even if they're $10, $8, $4, whatever. But if you're spending $1,000 a month, that's $33 a day, and 4 out of, 6 or 7 clicks are not as highly intent, then that's 50% of wasted traffic almost. So taking advantage of this and really being on it is very important. So just make sure that you're always regularly checking those, and also kind of to tie into, I'm not going to dive too into this, but don't fall for Google's trap of just using these broad keywords, because the whole point of that is just to make sure that you are spending your money, which is something that Google will always do. That's why they lean towards this AI and the PMax and the broad match. Yeah, because it will spend your money every single time. Of course they want that, obviously. I'm going to kind of combine 2 things in here a little bit. But the next thing I want to talk about is you need to be writing ads and have everything set up that screams local, trusted, established, blank, etc. That's who you need to be for local service, especially you're taking your car somewhere. Someone's coming into your house. You don't want to be, no one wants to work with a guy they feel like they can't trust or has a shady or, crappy business. That's not where I would go. It's not where most people would go. Okay. So I think the biggest thing is you need to be mentioning cities and neighborhoods in your titles. I like to use a lot of local based ad copy. So I like to, like, oh, establish, this time helping residential families in, this neighborhood for this amount of time, like blah, blah, blah. Like, you need to be a part of the community. You need to be a helper. People need to trust you. You need to have social proof, etc. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just being trusted and showing, that you should be trusted at a very local level. Part of this is kind of a little side parter, but part of your landing page and your website, I'm going to say this right now, and I'm only going to get in this once because I will talk about this and ramble and get upset about this for a long time. Do not use stock photos on your landing pages, okay? I promise every single person can tell if it's a stock photo, okay? You might get away with some like really, really good ones, okay? A little bit, but for the most part, no stock photos. Seriously, please. Pay someone with a camera one time to come onto a job site or come to the office or something and get pictures and tell people to get involved. You can do it all in an hour and just have some basic stuff of your trucks, your team, an action shot, something. That's all it takes, okay? But local and trusted is good. It is very, very hard to convert when you're using stock photos because everyone and their mom can see through it, I promise. And it looks terrible and it screams, do not trust, we are not legit. People have no idea what they're getting themselves into when they just look at pixels on a screen, okay? So use real assets, please, especially if you're a higher service or, higher ticket. And if you're like, oh yeah, we only sell to rich people. You got some crappy little Chrysler van that's dirty and has only a magnet logo on the side, and you're only using just shitty stock photos. Sorry, you don't sell to rich people. You have a terrible business. I'm sorry to go off on that tangent, but be who you say you are and be proud of it, okay? That's all I'm going to say there. The next thing too is I also suggest you use ad schedules. And then a part of this as well is make sure that you're using negative locations, okay? I'm in Arizona. I always exclude Mexico. I've audited an account before where an agency was working on it for 3 months, and all I literally did is I noticed that so much of the traffic was coming from Mexico. I excluded Mexico, and they were able to get sales literally right away. The client looked at me like I was the godfather, and that's all I had to do, okay? Because this stuff can be missed. You don't need to be running ads. Okay, if you're a plumber and you do emergency service, you're a locksmith, then yeah, okay, have it going all night. Absolutely. But for most businesses, if you're an auto shop, you don't need to be running it more than an hour before you open, an hour after you close. Yes, you'll still be missing some calls in, but you can try and call people back. If you notice that if you call someone back the next morning, and they already went somewhere because it's more urgent, then just make it so when you're actually going to be answering the calls, because answering the calls is the important. For most things, local home service, unless someone's just price shopping for an estimate, which is fine because you'd be okay missing their business, anyways, because they're just shoppers and just going to, waste your time. But if someone's really looking to get a sink unclogged or their bathroom is flooding or they're locked out of their house and you don't answer, they're probably going to go somewhere else, right? If their car's blown up or they're on the side of the road, whatever it may be. So use that in terms for your own business. And then make sure that, again, that you're just getting relevant traffic. You don't need people in different states or outside of your area, being able to see your ads or, scammers or people just wasting ad spend maybe in different countries. So just make sure that you're using exclusions and you have your location set to a present, not presence and interest. You want people who are only in your area. So, if you're in, again, Mexico, or if you're in Arizona, exclude Mexico, California, India, Pakistan, China, whatever, just to make sure you're getting rid of spam, and then, might be branching off. So just do that. The biggest thing here too is always do call from ads as well. These are just kind of extensions in actual ads themselves. But just do local extensions, right? Like make sure you have your Google My Business connected. Also, what I like to do is I like to have a lot of keywords that feature words that are like near me or local or, the city itself, because that also is going to increase the chance that your map pack or like your Google business location listing will come up along with that ad. And so that's going to add a ton of trust right away because it's going to show, your stars, it's going to show your address, your hours. Typically Google Maps listings or the Google business listing, which I guess is the same thing. Those tend to do really well for local service. So just make sure you're doing stuff that's connected to that. Make sure that that profile is good. Have good reviews. Have a good number of reviews. Have good stars. Have everything accurate on there. Have high quality pictures. If you're a local service business and you don't ever want to spend any money on marketing and you want to be as lazy as possible, then have a killer Google business profile with tons of stellar reviews. And I guarantee you that will do heaps for your business, just that. And that is the easiest thing you can do. Make sure that you're always tracking calls and form fill outs properly. I don't really want to get too into, actual conversion tracking because that's a whole different thing from their video, but make sure your conversion tracking is accurate. If you don't know how to do it, guess what? Honestly, I don't know how to do it either. I have a guy on my team that I pay to do it every single time I onboard a new client because it's a nightmare. It's not as easy as the Facebook Meta Pixel where you just go on the site and you go, hey, when people click this button, That's a conversion. It's unfortunately way more difficult, even out of my realm. I've tried. I said this is not going to work. So make sure you have that set up correctly. Because I have people who are tracking conversions as when someone loads onto their contact page. Okay, that is not a conversion. It's going to skew all your data. You have to make sure that's accurate. So make sure you're tracking calls. Also make sure that your calls are being recorded. I typically use a forwarding number and high level for this. But overall, just make sure that use call rail so you can see, you have it connected to Google Ads, what keywords people are looking up. That helps too. Obviously, you can still see the conversions of Google Ads, but little stuff like that just to make sure, and if you're an agency like me, I actually listen to all the lead phone calls to make sure that they're good. So a lot of times you can actually end up finding more things that you should be making negative or things you should or shouldn't be advertising for, including in your headlines or your ads or your keywords based off these phone calls. Like I've had people calling asking about tinting services for mobile auto detailing, but I didn't even hardly see any search terms for tinting, but I made it negative just cause. So it's like, okay, thanks for reminding me. This needs to be something that we're, made sure it's not on there as well. So little stuff like that. Then the next thing I have is a lot of people, they're just not testing enough. So this is just to kind of wrap it up. I know I've included a lot of stuff in here, but just test stuff. There's so many things inside the Google Ads, actual, dashboard or overview that people don't look into. It's like, hey, we're an auto shop and we're getting a lot of, people who don't have a lot of money and a lot of tire kickers and a lot of really low quality leads. Okay, then remove and see where your, go to your audience, segments, whatever, and see what household income thresholds, most of your leads are coming from. If most of your leads are trash, but most of the people who are filling out your forms or calling are people in the 50% or below household income range, then remove them and then try to advertise to more people, right? Or if, hey, if you're a roofing company, you probably don't need to be advertising to people who are 18 to 24 years old. Super simple stuff like that. Like looking at all that stuff because your money will get spent everywhere. But overall, what I have to say is, pause poor keywords, make sure your CPCs are good, test more locations. Don't just put all your locations into one campaign and go, okay, this is what we have forever. Break out those locations, pause them, enable them in certain campaigns separately to give them their own budgets to test because you might cover up a lot more than you were thinking. Pause underperforming keywords. Have a landing page for each separate business to increase your keyword quality score. Have more congruency, and this will help you, I promise. Always making sure that you are, tweaking your ad copy and your landing pages, doing everything you can to find these bottlenecks. So that's a quick little recap. Everything I said in here are things that I think that businesses, local home service businesses, local service businesses are not taking enough advantage of. And I see this stuff happen all the time. So be the change and you will increase your results because I do everything I just said in this exact video. I wouldn't have never been able to come up with these ideas if I don't do them myself. So my name is John Eberhard. If you want me to run your Google Ads for you, I have a link for you in the description. I've worked with over 100 brands. No, that does not mean I have 100 clients. I do consulting, I do auditing, I partner with agencies, etc. But I do a lot of Google Ads for a lot of businesses in all different industries. You would be surprised. I have some of the most unique businesses ever that I run Google Ads for successfully that you would never think anyone would be able to do. But it's because I'm not lazy and I'm a magician. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to be making a lot more of these videos that are not only just how-tos. So if you have any questions, please let me know down below. Thank you.